Hey everybody. So I finally got the parts in that I've ordered. Still waiting, but still waiting for the fittings for the new Racor system. They should be here today, hopefully. They were supposed to be here yesterday, but of course they're coming from New Hampshire. So anyways, I am going to start removing the fuel feeder pump that is attached to the engine. It's on the starboard side of the engine. If you were to look at the engine, even if you were to look at behind the engine, it's still going to be on the same side. So it is between the Racor and the secondary filter on the engine, and it is necessary, as I think I've mentioned before, to pull that fuel up from my tank, my fuel tank, which is lower than the engine and the Racor. So yeah, so I've already disconnected the intake of the fuel line, which would be from the Racor if it was attached, which right now the old Racor is out. And so I'm going to go ahead and remove the pump, the fuel feeder pump. All right, we'll be back. All right, so I have removed the outside of that, see the braided hose? I have removed that from the pump. The pump, this braided hose goes from, so I removed it. You can see it's not attached, and it goes to the secondary pump up here on the engine. So I removed it without removing the secondary filter. I really would not like to do that if possible. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it back together without doing that, because it's got copper washers in it, and then I have to finagle to get to those bolts, and the bolts that bolt it to the crankshaft. So housing here, so I may have to do that. I may have to take these apart and remove the secondary filter. So I may not have any other choice, so we'll see. All right, back at it. Okay, so I have gone ahead and removed the secondary filter housing assembly so I can reach the feeder pump. Alright, so it'll make it easier on me, hopefully. So you're looking at the feeder pump, and I don't know if it's bad or not. It seems like when I pump this, the diaphragm appears to be like, I can hear it kind of moving. But I have to take off this bolt here. This is a banjo in here. And I have to have that. That's the intake from the fuel line. So that's the intake side. This is the out, and this goes in the crank shaft, and it's bolted on that way. And so yeah, took me a minute to get it out, but it's out. So who knows? But they do have arrows on there that tell you which way it goes. So I have no idea how old mine is. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to scrape off the gasket on the crankshaft side. So I need to scrape off that gasket very delicately without getting it into the crankcase. So yeah, it looks pretty old. I don't know what they use to keep it stuck to it, but looks like there's something on it. All right, away we go. We'll come back later. Okay, so yay on getting the pump out. And so this here is the new pump, okay, and the new gasket. And hopefully this lever I will be able to still line up with the camshaft, and we'll be able to get these two bolts in. Okay, so we will see what happens with no cuss words, okay? With no cuss words, promise. Okay, so we have had success of getting the feeder fuel pump into the crank case on the to line up with the crank shaft, and I got the 2 bolts in, and there we go. Now we gotta hook up all the lines, and then I gotta hook up back up my secondary filter back up. So there we are. Okay. Whew. Alright, so I got the last banjo for the in, and then all hooked up for the out of, hang on a second, let me reposition this so that we are the right way. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Alright, so we are on, and we have the end ready for the hose coming from the Racor. So right now we have to wait for the fittings for the Racor. They're not here yet. So I'm done for today. It's 90 plus degrees. Alrighty, we'll be back for the rest tomorrow. Okay, we have gotten, it finally arrived, the Racor fittings. I do have some stuff I'll put on the ends, the threads of these. It's a thread, it's yellow. I forget what they call it, thread something. But I have a brand new tube of it, and we'll put that on there. And then here's my little nipple here for the fuel line going in. So that'll go on there. And then here is the one for the 90-degree fuel line. And then that'll go on there. So, like that. And there we go. Yeehaw. I don't know if I put a filter in here or not. I've been going through filters like crazy with this, trying to figure out what's going on when I don't even have an issue. I mean, I do have an issue. Changing the filters when they weren't even dirty. So I've got a new filter to go in here. looks like I'm putting a new one in here. Because I got rid of the other one and it wasn't even used but half an hour or something. So this will go in here. And I already got a new thing, so I won't need to use that. I'll save it in case I need a new rubber thing. Gasket. That goes on there. And actually, the gauge will go on there. So let's see. The gauge. Alright. So this is the gauge here for the fuel. And that'll go in there. And then this will go in here. There's supposed to be an O-ring. Oh, it is on there. I was going to say there had to be an O-ring on there, and there is. So the O-ring's on the T-handle. And once this gets tightened, I hope it comes around enough for me to see it. So, there it goes. And then we mount it, and we hook up all the hoses here. And then we got to fill it up with fuel. And prime the system once again. So we're going to do that tomorrow, since we got the parts. Alright, looks good. This, I just saved this because, just because we need to save it. There we go. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, we're done. So here we are with the new fittings. They came in two pieces here, so these are reduced down to a 1/4 inch outside diameter fittings to fit my 1/4 inch inside diameter fuel hose. So, okay, so that is that there. I went already and mounted the vacuum gauge. I don't have it on the top of this because I don't need to be bumping into things with it. So, and it makes this a little bit lighter. I have the regular T-handle on it. And I've already tried it, and the gauge comes around pretty much to the front view here where I can see it. So that's good. So got a new filter in there already. I got a 30 micron. So we will be ready to hook this up to the bulkhead, and then I may go ahead. I have fuel line left. I may replace some of the lines just because I don't like the ends after being on hose clamps, and if it depends if I have enough to cut off and still be able to work with the hose. And there we go. We have gotten this far. All right. See you in a little bit. Okay, so we have our or I have. I keep saying we like there's somebody else in my back pocket, but there's not. So yeah, I've finally mounted the Racor, the new Racor system. I have put in some new fuel lines in between the Racor and the prime feeder pump, the fuel feeder pump. And I've also reconnected my electric lift pump. Reason being is the last time the engine died, it wasn't even connected to it. So I do not believe it is my electric lift pump that is a problem, because they weren't connected. It wasn't connected to the lines when it died. So I don't think of my electric lift pump, but I am a little concerned using the fuel, the vacuum gauge on the Racor right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lift pump to prime it, because I have a switch to turn it off and on. So I'm going to have it help me prime the system. I'll bleed it out and I will shut it off so that it is not working. We'll only use it when priming the system. So, all right, here we go. Nice new canister, not the old one. A few new lines, new fittings, goes up through here, goes out, and then goes along. Should be showing it. Let's try it from this way. Okay, so you can see the top of it. Yep. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So I've got fuel to prime, and we will prime and see if she'll start. Alrighty, well, we'll be back. Okay, I don't know, she is running. It took one good crank after I primed the line to start. Yay. Okay, I started her a second time and I accelerated and with the throttle, give it fuel. No hesitation whatsoever. None. She responds right on the money. For now, fingers crossed that it stays that way. I put it in gear, in reverse. I can't go forward in the slip, but I can put it in reverse. And she doesn't try to die. She's right there. She moves instantly. So that's better than before. And I'm better than before because now she's starting again. And I think really, I truly believe it was the feeder fuel pump. You know, because it wasn't starting before that. It quit and then it wouldn't start. So I did not have the fuel lift pump hooked to it, to the line. It was disconnected. I bypassed it completely, so it has nothing to do with the fuel filter pump as far as it being plugged. any fuel going through it, nothing. The one pump that is in between the tank and the Racor, which now is a new Racor system, okay, with new fuel lines from the lift pump now to the whole system, all new fuel lines, plus right up to that fuel feeder pump. And she starts on the first try. She doesn't try to die or try to pick up. She doesn't rev up, doesn't do anything on her own right now. I will take her out for a sea trial. I don't know if it'll happen today or when it's going to happen, but I will. I have to have the bottom of the boat is going to be cleaned. I have a diver coming. I will be canceling the mechanic because right at this point I do not need that mechanic. So he was supposed to be here, or is to be here, on Tuesday. The diver's supposed to be on Wednesday, so maybe I'll get the diver to come Tuesday, and then I can go to a mooring wall on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then look for a weather window to head for Beaufort, North Carolina, to go on the outside is the plan, because I'm really kind of tired of the ICW at this point. And worst case scenario, it'll be the last choice to go. The first choice is going on the outside. So, yeah. Cheers to me, okay? And everybody who was great support, suggestions, comments, you know, of what I should do and everything. But I figured it out. No one ever came up with the fuel feeder pump. No one did. And so everyone, you know, I appreciate your comments, and I did everything before I finally got to the feeder pump. For some reason in the back of my mind it always kept bugging me, and I checked it. I even pumped the lever, but it takes forever for fuel to come up there, and when the system was full I wasn't able to really pump the fuel. So I probably should have investigated that a little bit more, but I was just thinking, oh, it's just the butter, it's just that, you know, it takes a long time to pump the fuel in there. But it didn't take nothing. I only used the feeder pump. I did not use my lift pump at all. And I just filled up the Racor, and then I started her. I let her crank, and then she took right off. And she never died. I bled out with the feeder pump. I bled out until the air was out of the system, right up to the injector pump. And she just took over. She went. And I think that feeder pump, I haven't taken it apart, the old one, but I will. And I will show you what it looks like. I have a feeling that diaphragm in there was deteriorating, and it wasn't holding the prime. And even though it wasn't leaking on the outside of the pump, it still was causing the problem. So I'm pretty sure. I feel confident that it is. But again, I'm proud of myself, and I'm celebrating. So thanks everybody, and for being there and being supportive and caring. And love you guys. Alrighty, till next time. Toodaloo.